Welcome to the Whiskey After Work podcast. This is where booze meets business. I'm Doug Shaw, owner of Peach State Business Brokers and Advisors.
And I'm Melissa Hergert, owner of Brain Train Centers.
We are serial entrepreneurs that love to learn from other successful professionals and love to drink whiskey. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Douglas.
How you doing?
Good. Good.
It is a hot afternoon in the T-Mobile, or the T... Have we started drinking yet?
Not yet. Well, I had a beer.
The Low T Nation Studios on the Square of Marietta.
Well, it's humid today already.
It is. It's hot.
What the hell?
This is episode 9.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
So cool.
And of the Whiskey After Work podcast. And it is brought to you by Brain Train Centers. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And Peach State Business Brokers and Advisors. Mm-hmm. And Keystone Realty Group.
Yeah.
And today's guest, we are into the whiskey business. Mm-hmm. And we have a guest today. His name is Ryan Meegan, and he's coming to us from Makers Mark. And before we get rolling, I want to remind everybody that the opinions that are expressed on this show are those of the idiot that sang them.
Mm-hmm. Not the business.
Not the businesses.
Yes.
Nobody else. We're not going to pull a Bobby Huggins. If you guys hadn't heard about that, we'll talk about that in a minute too.
What's that? No. I haven't heard of
that. If you hear it, you don't like it, blame the moron that said it, nobody else. If you're worried you're going to be offended, there's probably a couple other podcasts on there that'll be a little nicer and sweeter and more innocent.
Don't listen to ours.
They are not us.
No. But real quick, you did just spend some time at Brain Train Centers with me.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I sent a picture to my wife, and she's like, what is she shooting into your head?
So, yeah, we recorded. Doug does have a brain, believe it or not.
Well, I haven't seen the feedback yet, so we don't know if that's the case.
Well, I saw brainwaves. Don't worry. They were there. Or else I would have sent you out. And we recorded his brainwaves, and then we upload it to see how his brain's functioning in 12 different areas of the brain.
Do you do that like sober and then after 5 drinks?
Right.
Anything like that?
It does affect, drinking absolutely affects your brain function.
I'm sure it does.
Definitely does. And your brainwave activity. But yeah, so that's what Brain Train Centers does. And then we provide a therapy to help addiction, things like that.
Okay.
Insomnia, anxiety.
We're going to see what's wrong.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on.
So our guest today, Ryan Meegan. He is Makers Mark's distillery diplomat for Georgia and Tennessee. We'll get a little more into what that entails.
Yeah.
He's a beverage industry guy. We were just talking about it. We crossed paths because of a real good friend of mine who's been in the beverage industry forever, and I eventually will have him on this show too. He's on a weird side of it, the non-alcoholic side. But so he is WSET 2 Spirit certified, and he's a certified and executive bourbon steward. Spent his early years in Jersey, Southern Colorado, and the suburbs of Tampa, Florida.
Oh, I like
But he's
Tampa.
been in the Atlanta area for 21 years. So, interest, fly fishing, cooking, fine cocktails, spending time with his much better half and their dogs. And he is a talker, and we're going to find that out. And he said he's currently in pursuit of the best cheeseburger in the Southeast.
Oh.
And I imagine we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
too.
I want to know who's in the top right now.
Yep.
Can we just answer that right now? Like I'm ready to
No,
hear.
we can't because honestly, I put it in my bio, and I haven't been very scientific with it. I just go around and eat a lot of cheeseburgers, saying that I'm in the pursuit of the best cheeseburger.
But what's
I do
your
have
favorite?
some mental notes.
What's your favorite so far?
Well, so I mean, I think you have to think about like categories. So I think you just start breaking it into category. But one of my favorites is Dino's in Nashville. Which
Okay.
actually, I'm a little sad. It's good for them, but they just won Best Burger in Nashville last year.
Yeah.
And so they were always kind of busy. They're even busier than ever.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's this tiny little joint. It's in East Nashville. Thankfully, it's not on the tourist train.
Yeah.
But you go in there, you put your order in, and you might get a 15, 20-minute wait.
Sure.
It'd be 45 minutes.
Oh.
It comes out, and it's this beautiful smash burger and it comes out with cheap lager beer and a cheap shot of whiskey, and it's going to be, it's going to be a good night. It's a great late night spot. It's one
That
of my
sounds
favorites.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the opportunity to meet Miss Ann before she passed away at Ann's Snack Bar down on Moreland?
I did not.
The Ghetto Burger was amazing, and it was written about in Wall Street Journal one time. And,
Really?
And it put her on the map.
That's
he thought it was the
cool.
best hamburger he'd ever had in the United States. And it was a big old messy. It was huge. I mean, just huge. It came out on a big paper plate, and she was something else, man. She was a big part of Atlanta history and really interesting lady. She was the first female in the state of Georgia to get an SBA loan.
What?
And
Where was
and
this?
she was a black female, but was the first female.
That's amazing. And where was this?
This was down on Moreland Avenue, and after she passed away, or I'm sorry, not Moreland, but Memorial. Toward East Atlanta, over toward East Lake and that. And she, when she passed away, she left it to some family, and it just didn't stay.
Damn.
But we all kind of figured she was such a big part of it. You know,
Yeah.
she was, people go in there to meet her. I took my daughters in there several times, but
How cool.
So Makers and she actually have something in common.
what was that?
So one of the many, many reasons that Makers Mark is the brand it is today, one of the first things was that we got an article on the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Bill Samuels Jr., who's the son of the founders, managed to, quote, trick a journalist to come down to the distillery for the day and meet his father and get a tour at the property, which then landed him a front page article about Maker's Mark. Prior to
That's
that,
cool.
the brand had really only been a regional brand that his Bill Sr. and his buddies drank while they watched horse racing.
Wow.
So,
Well, let's get to know Ryan a little
Yes.
bit, and then we'll dive in.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about, you gave me your little bio, but tell us about you. Tell us why you were in those places and how you ended up here.
oh, I mean, parents get divorced. It happens. My parents divorced when I was a kid, and so Mom said, "You know what? We're leaving New Jersey. We're moving out to very, very southern rural Colorado." When we moved out and lived next to my aunt for a while, and all that, kind of changed. I decided I didn't want to live in Colorado, and had an opportunity to move in with my father in Tampa. After we did many summers with my dad. And around 14, I moved out there and finished high school and ended up going to school at Troy, back when it was Troy State in Troy, Alabama. Visited that place for a little bit. Moved to Miami after that. Moved back up to Tampa. Reconnected with an ex-girlfriend from college. And we moved to Atlanta together in September of 2001. That didn't work out, but shortly thereafter, I met my wife, and we've been together ever since.
Nice.
So we met, I think, in 2002, right roughly around that time. And in September, we'll have been married for 18 years.
Very cool.
Yeah, right around the same time that we got married, I got into the wine and spirits business. Worked for a wholesaler for a little over a dozen years, almost 13 years. Started out in wine, then moved into the spirit side. Sold spirits for the majority of it, about 10 years of that time, and then had an opportunity to leave and come to work for Beam Suntory, which is the mother company of Makers Mark. So I came over. I was doing kind of key account management. Had about 40 accounts I was calling on the entire Beam Suntory portfolio. And then I found out that our Makers Mark diplomat had just gotten a promotion. So I called my manager and I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about applying for this." And he said, "You should apply for it. That'd be cool." So I also called our diplomat who just got promoted, and I said, "Hey, Rachel, I'm interested." She goes, "You are?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, I think you'd be perfect for it." So,
Oh, cool.
2 interviews later, one of them sitting at the Garden and Gun Club over in the Battery, having a fine Makers Mark cocktail. And the other one was I was sitting in a hotel room in Nashville, and Jane Bowie, who was our former head of maturation, called me up and just wanted to BS for an hour and get to know me because she was afraid that I was going to be salesy. You know, that's the big, you know, coming over to what I do now, which is an advocacy type role. It's a lot of education, and it's a lot more brand building and less about the day-to-day, like case sales and the other things like, you know, commercial acumen. So we got to talk about those kinds of things, and she's like, okay, well, I think you're going to make it. So
Cool.
we went from there, and I've been doing that since it was February of 19. So we just hit 4 years. I just said 4 years as a diplomat.
So you met Ryan before,
Yeah, where?
virtually.
Oh, yes.
He did a Maker's Mark tasting for us, whiskey after work tasting
During COVID.
during COVID.
Yeah.
From his beautiful house in North Paulding County.
Yes.
And remember, he was
Yes.
knocked out a couple of cocktails. We had a good time.
That was a great time. Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
Had to do something.
Tired of sitting
Definitely.
around.
Every Thursday
Weird-ass
night
time,
we did.
yeah.
Was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Maker's Mark, I mean, you've been a huge help to me in getting a little more educated about bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
And you've even kind of sent me on a trip up there once, and that was fun as hell a couple years ago in October.
I remember that.
Yeah. And it was still kind of the end of COVID. Some of the other distilleries up there, you couldn't really do much. Even there was parts of Maker's Mark we didn't get to see.
There was a lot of it
because
was closed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us, I know that Maker's Mark they use one mash bill, correct?
Yep.
So
What's that mean?
that's
So-
what he's going to tell you.
Yeah, so we have one recipe, and your mash bill is just a portion of your recipe.
Okay.
So the mash bill are the grain ratios that you use. So for Maker's Mark, we use 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. Both our corn and our wheat are local, so they're within 70. They're sourced from within 70 miles of our distillery, and the malted barley comes from a big malting house in the Dakotas. But in addition to that, there's other things that make up a recipe for a bourbon, right? So somebody else, and I know there's another newer brand that is using the same grain ratios that we are, but they don't have our yeast strain, which is a very significant portion of your flavor profile.
Okay.
They don't have our stills. And I think you say this about any brand. And it's
Sure.
not just like us, again, with them.
Yeah.
Someone else might have a recipe that's similar, that only because they figure that it tastes right. Okay. So our yeast strain is something we propagate on site. It's the Samuel's family yeast strain. We don't use a powdered yeast. Like you would think you go buy yeast from the store. It's not a pitch yeast. It's literally a jug yeast. We propagate on site. So have you ever made bread, Doug?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Was it during COVID?
No.
I was basic bitch, and I did sourdough bread at my house during COVID.
Oh,
Ooh,
see,
was
yeah.
it good?
It turned out okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the best thing I made was English muffins.
Ooh,
yeah,
yum.
yeah. But it's the same. So sour mashing and sourdough are the same principles.
Okay.
Right? So you take a portion of your yeast or your starter, and you hold it back and reuse it in the following batch, and so on and so forth, for consistency's sake. So we do the same thing and it all starts from our yeast. We are a sour mash brand. It no longer says it on the label. I didn't bring a bottle of Classic Maker's Mark, but it used to say Old Style Sour Mash. But it's just for consistency's sake.
Okay.
So the way we
Nice.
distill, the way we go in our barrel, those are all different factors in our flavor profiles.
I will say I've done about a dozen tours now, bourbon distilleries, and the tasting that we did at Maker's Mark was by far the best tasting I've been to. They really let you try a lot of different things, and the cool thing is yeah, it's the same recipe in every bottle, but the difference in how they finish it and everything else, how long they age it, what proof it is, all those things, and it's really because that it's the same bourbon to start with.
It is.
It was really cool to taste all the different ways it tasted from the same bourbon.
That's
It
very cool.
it was a really neat tour.
Glad you liked it. It's one of my favorites. I'm lucky I had to go give tours sometimes. One of these days we'll get up there together.
Yeah, I want to go do that.
Yeah. I want to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
I know.
Yeah, twist my wife's arm. She's all about going up and touring some distilleries.
Nice.
It's a good trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so that's the basic of what we said, the mash bill, the recipe, and it's the same way. But I was saying too that they finish it a lot of different ways, and I noticed that you brought several different bottles here. And
I did. I brought what I like to call the truth. So we talk about us having one recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's really this. It's Maker's Mark cask strength. This is what Maker's Mark tastes like out of the barrel.
Okay.
Classic Maker's Mark, which is the one that's the one that put us on the map. That's the 90 proof. That's this, but cut down to 90 proof.
Okay.
This is 110.
Ooh.
Or it's 109.7 to be exact. So what that means, so when we make our product, we do our fermentation. It's 3-day fermentation. We distill it. We do a double distillation, so it's it's column still first. First distillation, we take it to 120 proof in a column still, and then we do a second distillation in a pot still, and we take it up to 130 proof. And to be bourbon, you can't go into the barrel any higher than 125, right? That's law. Mm-hmm. Okay. We proof down to 110, which is the previous. I think before 1964, it was the previous top end of how high you can go into a barrel. So we go in at 110, and we use a number 3 char, yard-aged barrel from ISC, Independent Stave Company. That's the number one cooperage company in the world. I think they own 10 cooperages worldwide, and another business that buys and sells used barrels. They make wood products for, not just us.
No, so this is American white oak, correct?
Yes, that's what we use, American white oak.
But these cooperages could be in Hungary or wherever, right?
Right, and so they make barrels out of any kind of wood. And the 2 cooperages that ISC owns that we work with are in Missouri and in Kentucky.
Okay.
And they are using American white oak. You don't have to use American white oak to be bourbon. It just has to be new charred oak.
It doesn't have to be American.
Doesn't have to be American.
Huh.
But obviously, like, the majority of bourbon is made with American white oak, charred American white oak, because it tastes good.
Why is there like that limit of what proof it has to be when you put it in?
As far as the height of how high you can go in, I'm not sure why. It was something that was written into law. I think it makes the higher proof that you put it in, the more the more evaporation you're gonna get, more water evaporation you'll have, especially depending on where it sits in a warehouse.
Okay.
But it probably also has to be a safety thing.
Safety.
Yeah, 125 proof whiskey is. It's not 151. I've never tried to light it.
Right.
It might light on fire. I don't know. I'm not gonna. We have, and almost every distillery I've ever been on has no smoking policies for a reason. They have a lot of safety protocols because no one wants that bourbon to light on fire.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Reasons. Yeah.
All right.
But I really think it's a safety thing.
That makes sense.
Now, can it change in the barrel to a higher proof than 125?
Yes,
Yeah,
and it can go lower. Absolutely.
It could go.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends. There's a couple factors that drive that, right? Like, is it in a northern part of or upper part of a warehouse? What's the climate like? Are you in a dry area? So if you think like if you were making bourbon in Texas or Colorado, where you have low humidity and these really high temperature swings, right? You're likely to have you're going to get to a higher proof sooner. So the opposite effect could happen if, say, you are in a cooler climate with a lot of humidity, right? So at some point, and I don't remember the temperatures, but at some point, alcohol evaporates instead of the water evaporating, so you lose proof. So if you look at this one specifically that we got right here, that's 109.7, and that went into the barrel at 110 proof.
Okay.
So at some point, alcohol was evaporating off instead of the water evaporating. Does that make sense?
Hear it? Yes. Yes, that makes sense.
So you mentioned about the water and cutting it. Now, if I remember right, and I think I remember right, there's something very specific about the water that Maker's Mark uses.
So yeah, we have our own water source. So when Bill and Margie Samuels bought the property in 1953, the reason they bought it was a shell of a distillery, and it has its own water source. So it was a 100-acre property. They paid $35,000 for.
Wow.
And an 11-acre limestone spring-fed lake. They were like, well, water is really expensive. We have our own water source. So over years, we've actually bought more property, and we own the entire watershed.
Wow.
To that lake, and we bought an additional lake that's nearby, and we own the entire watershed to that too.
That's cool.
So we can protect the water that goes in it. So that water gets used in our fermentation process.
Now, was there something special about the wheat too?
The wheat is local. It's soft red winter wheat instead of hard red winter wheat.
Okay.
Wow.
And I have never tried the two together, so I couldn't tell you the difference. I actually probably should do that. But I think it's more that I think the soft is something you use more for like pastry, because it gives you that softer mouthfeel. Along with we use a lot of barley in our recipe. If you look at a lot of bourbons, they're usually only about 5% barley. Ours is 14%. That's that other soft flavor.
Nice. Let's try it, Doug.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do it.
So the first one is the barrel proof.
This is Maker's
Cask
Cask Strength. This is pretty readily available retail. I'm not going to talk about prices because it kind of varies from state to state. So this is 109.7. Batch 22-01, so the first batch out of 2022. We do 4 batches a year. Okay. Now, you guys want to talk about how to nose and taste the spirit?
Yes.
All right. Have you ever used these glasses before?
No, they're beautiful.
These are my personal preference. This is the official bourbon tasting glass. I like it. It's got the little round bowl, but it's got that little fluted nose. So it actually helps the alcohol dissipate a tiny bit. All right. So when you nose, you want to breathe through your nose and your mouth at the same time. So have your mouth open and put it to your nose and just catch the smell. What you're doing is you're helping the alcohol dissipate so you don't anesthetize your taste buds.
That smells good.
This is all about the olfactory, right? Doesn't it smell good?
Yes.
A little bit like heaven.
The olfactory bulb, that's in your brain. And did you know it's the only part of your brain that helps you like bring up old memories? Like the only sense that you have that brings up old memories.
That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
We talk about flavor memories in something that I do. One of the barrel program that I work on.
Yeah, like you smell an apple pie. You're like, oh, that smells like grandma's house.
Yeah.
That's the only sense that you have that will do memories.
So what do you smell in there, Melissa?
Caramel. Am I right?
You're not wrong. So the wonderful thing about tasting experiences is that it's your sensation that you're experiencing. So there's really no wrong answer, unless you're like smelling and tasting bourbon, and you're just like, well, reminds me of bok choy, and then there's probably something wrong. You should probably go get
Have your
visited by your
Why,
office.
Yeah.
why does it all smell like burnt toast? It's because
Yeah, you definitely need to go to call a doctor now.
So what do you both smell?
I smell yeast a little bit.
You get yeast, okay?
Yeah.
I don't.
Brown sugar.
Oh, brown sugar. Ooh, now that you said that, I smell it more.
Okay, so there's such a
That's
thing
my
as
brain.
suggestive
Yes.
smelling, right?
Yes. Oh, that's
So you may get other things like oak come through. But what do you say? Like, what kind of oak? Is it fresh oak? Is it toasted oak? Is it charred oak?
Yeah.
Do any of those things stick out to you?
See, I definitely
smell
get
the brown
the
sugar.
sweeter smells. in
Brown
this.
sugar and
Yeah.
caramel.
So
Yum.
Makers
Okay, can we
classically
taste it now?
be brown sugar caramel.
Yum.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Vanilla honey.
Do you let it sit in your mouth for a second?
I do. Some people have a whole process. They chew on it. There are some other people that have a whole, like, do all the funny little things, I don't know. I think that...
What's that thing going on right now where people actually pay to listen to people like do slurping and breathing and
I call it fucking weird, but
Yeah.
you call it whatever you want.
ASMR.
ASMR?
I don't know what that stands
You do that.
for. I don't know what that stands for. I really, truly don't.
I have no idea.
But I've seen it, and I was like, oh, sure, that's strange, but okay.
Yeah.
Hey, to each their own. No king shaming
Yeah,
from me.
yeah. This is delicious.
I love Maker's Mark.
Yeah,
and,
so-
and then the cask strength is
And the cask strength. So I figured that most people have had classic Maker's Mark, and we don't like call it regular Maker's Mark. We call it, you don't have a regular Coke, you have a classic Coke. So we have
Yeah.
a classic Maker's Mark. said, let's do something a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
So you're having 110 proof whiskey,
Yes, I am.
and no one made a face.
No.
Right?
This is delicious.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of by design. I was
Yes.
like, I want something that is not a test of manhood. It's something that you automatically enjoy. Because the founder came from a distilling family, and he hated his family's whiskey. He said, and I quote, "It was shitty whiskey, and it would blow your ears off."
Do people mix this?
You can. I like to. If I was going to mix this, I would make an old fashioned with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
I
keep
feel
it
like
simple.
old fashioned is like the best thing you could drink with these types of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What else? I mean, I feel like in the bars, like when you're young, you mix it with Coke and it's disgusting.
I mean, I like a nice bourbon Coke.
You do?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
maybe I
always
was-
I'm a
I'm
ginger
always
ale
a
guy
bourbon
too, though.
ginger.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my
ginger ale.
favorite.
Or
Yeah.
club soda. Like I drink
So-
a lot of Makers and club soda.
The
Ooh.
two classic bourbons to have with an ale 8-1 is either a Maker's Mark or
yeah.
a Woodford, and they call them a Kentucky Highball.
Okay.
And ale 8-1 is it's a sweet, it's just like a soft ginger soda.
That
It's
sounds good.
so it's actually it's from where my grandmother's from in Kentucky, Winchester, Kentucky. A late one, ale 8-1, is caffeinated ginger ale.
Oh,
It is delicious.
that
It
sounds
is one of my
delicious.
favorite things in the world.
But not all bars have that, do they?
No,
No,
it's
they-
actually not distributed here in Georgia.
is.
It is now?
Yes, you can buy it at Kroger.
Wow.
And sometimes they'll have the diet. They always have the regular.
You get the cherry?
I haven't seen cherry here in over a year, and they just came out with peach, and it's supposed to be
Peach.
awesome.
That sounds good.
But
little tea in
Kroger carries
Yum.
they're a Cincinnati base,
Yeah.
so they definitely got that Kentucky thing going.
Okay.
They carry ale 8-1 and sometimes diet and sometimes cherry, but they always have regular.
Yeah, it's a good product.
Yum.
It really is. Yeah.
Rocket Fizz right here on the square also has it.
Do they?
I think they have all the flavors.
That's the candy place,
That's the
isn't it?
candy and soda place right here. Yeah.
Okay. That's why.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
I might look like I eat a bunch of candy, but I don't.
So,
That was delicious.
No. Good. I'm glad you like it. Yeah. I also, instead of an old fashioned, I would say a Boulevardier.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's a
No.
really easy cocktail. It is an equal parts cocktail. Well, it doesn't have to be, but typically that's how it's designed. So it'd be equal parts bourbon, Maker's Cast Strength, Campari, and sweet vermouth.
What's Campari?
it's like a bitter Italian liquor, and it's really good.
Ooh,
it's kind
yum.
of pinkish red.
It
Oh.
is, yes, it is bright red. It is certainly bitter.
Oh, is there alcohol? Maybe.
Yes, it does have alcohol in it.
So
But not a lot, though,
the
right?
Italians, don't they break everything down into two types of liquor? It's like an aperitif or a digestive.
So that is the
That'd be an aperitif. It'd have to be.
it's actually an Americano. So even that has nothing to do with America. It's an Americano or coffee. So also Aperol is in the same category.
Aperol. I had Aperol the other night at the cigar place.
So,
I
yeah.
had Aperol inside of champagne.
Okay, well Aperol spritz.
Yes.
Yes.
That was good.
So they're actually owned by the same company, which I
Okay.
don't work with, but they're very fine products. But yeah, so those two are similar, and I would say that the Aperol is more of the aperitif, and so would be say a Campari, and then they have another version called Amaro, which is a whole category to itself, which is more your digestif,
Okay.
Italian herbal bitters.
Yum. What are you doing?
That
Robert?
that can get us into a whole.
Our next guest is next door, and I'm just letting her know she can come on in.
Oh, yes. Okay. Very cool. I'm learning so much. Okay, tell us about the second one.
Okay, so the second one that we've got is Makers 46.
Okay.
All right, this has been out since 2010. Bill Samuels Jr., the son of the founders, this is his bourbon. He sold his parents' whiskey from, I guess, 1964 until 2008, and he had continued to sell it. But he was just 2008. He was looking at retirement. He was about to turn 70, and he says, "I've been selling mom and dad's whiskey this whole time. What if I made my own bourbon? I want to make my own perfect version of Maker's Mark."
Cool.
Okay. So he called up Independent Stave Company, the Cooperage company we work with. They make different kind of wood products. So they worked for 2 years to develop a finished version of Maker's Mark using infrared seared virgin French oak staves.
Whoa.
So we take this product, cask strength,
Yes.
fully matured, and then we introduce those infrared seared French oak staves in a process where we'll take a batch of 40 barrels, we dump them in a vat, remove the top 2 rings of the barrel, take the barrel head out, and put those cooked staves inside the barrel on a ring. Put the barrel head back on, and then fill it from that batch of 40. I had my iPad out earlier just so you could actually get the visual.
Yeah, I'm
Didn't feel like
picturing
it would
it.
translate to camera.
No, I'm picturing it. And I'm thinking people should pay attention in chemistry class.
Well,
Yeah, totally.
when we get to go up there with him to do this tour, that process has blown up, and they've used it to start so people can start creating their own barrels.
Wow.
So our private selection program is kind of like the child of this program, where we take, this has one kind of wood. Private selection has 5 different kinds of finishing staves. And then in addition to that, it birthed the Makers Mark wood finishing series, of which I brought a sample of the one that hasn't even hit Georgia yet.
Ooh.
I still have the, because
We are lucky tonight.
Yep.
so you're going to get to taste that, which isn't even available in market yet.
That's
But
exciting.
Bill had a flavor goal. His dad had
Okay.
a flavor goal, which was make a softer, sweeter, front of the palate experience bourbon. That you didn't have to. You didn't have to try to like. It was just good.
It's just
right?
good?
Yeah. So Bill Jr. said, "I want to make a bigger, bolder version of Maker's Mark with a longer finish that still didn't have any bitterness and also was yummy." Literally was one of his goals. Yummy. If you've ever met Bill Jr., you'll understand he's that's how he talks.
Is he still alive?
He is. He's 82.
Wow.
I saw him 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
He was leading a tour at the distillery.
How cool.
And if you've been to Maker's Mark, you know that those hills are kind of rough.
Yep.
He was walking up the hill from the creek up toward the home place,
Wow.
which is kind of a tough hill.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
We got to go.
He's a lot of fun.
The place is beautiful, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's
It's
no
in
other.
Kentucky?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're in Loretta, Kentucky. It's about 35 miles from Bardstown,
Okay.
which is like the heart of bourbon country.
Okay. I've only been to,
We
I call it Louisville.
That's
People
okay.
are going
That's
to
the
hate
baseball
me.
bat.
there is like one bar in
Louisville.
that town, and it is rough.
What, Bardstown?
No, the town that
Makers
is
Loretto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
No. There's a
What?
couple.
Is it a
So
biker bar?
There are
it's-
several biker bars.
I can only imagine.
But there's my favorite place to go. If I was going to go in Loretto outside of Maker's Mark, is the Cozy Corner.
That's where we went.
You went to Cozy. All right. Yeah, Cozy's pretty good.
You
man.
said it was rough. What was so rough?
It's an interesting place,
love
and
that.
I like it.
the food was actually.
If
pretty
you wanted
damn
it
good.
fried, you
You
can get
got
it
it.
fried.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they have some good specials there.
Yeah.
yeah.
I like the Cozy.
Yeah, they got a little stage. They got a little.
They do. I
jukebox
want to
there in
go
the
for
corner.
it for a show one night. I think it'd be a good time.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
So Junior made this one.
This is his. Yes.
And does he have kids that are now doing it?
He does, yeah. Rob Samuels, his son. He has several because I only know of Rob.
Yeah.
So Rob is actually our our chief operating officer now.
Cool.
And we'll talk about him
Yeah.
once we go through this. So
Okay.
we launched this in 2010. Oh, that's you right there.
Yeah.
Boom. All right, so Makers 46 is actually our new packaging on it.
I was
Cool.
going
It
to
used
say
to
that's a
have
new
this-
label.
It used to have a bottle shape like this with actually like a kind of a ceramic label. I don't know what else baked on label. I don't know what you call that. But we decided we should go to kind of echo back to the classic bottle.
It's
which
cool
was-
label.
Do they punch that label on the same machine that they're punching the other
They
ones?
do now. So yeah, all of our labels are hand cut on site
Cool.
with these 1930s printing presses.
What?
Yes.
That's
You
cool.
just stand there and watch the lady. That's all she does all day. Well, they rotate.
They do. They rotate
the
out.
job.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's-
these machines turn
that's
out
cool.
60,000 labels a day.
Whoa.
And they only cut 4 sheets of paper at a time. What? Yeah. It's pretty wild to watch.
I mean, look at how cool the label looks, though.
Yep.
Yeah. So imagine it was
So
originally
cool.
hand torn.
Whoa.
I think it lasted like one cycle. They're like, we got to figure something out.
Right.
This ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Well, so thanks to this guy, I got to dip my own bottle while I was up there, and it's 40. That's a 375 of 46, but it's right before they changed the label.
So is this?
So
is that
yeah,
bottle?
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna ask about this. Like, obviously, that's their thing. Why? Like, is there a reason they dip these like this?
Oh yeah. So Margie Samuels, Bill Senior's wife,
Okay.
Bill Junior's mother,
Yes.
is the reason she did everything on the outside of our bottle. She created our bottle shape based on some cognac pewter bottles in her collection. She created our paper label. She created our font, which is known as Thomas Paine.
Wow.
I remember that guy.
Wow.
And she created our Maker's Mark, which is the star SIV.
Wow.
You see that on all of our bottles
Yeah.
because if you make something you're really proud of as an artisan, you put your mark on it.
Yeah.
So, and then she forever ruined her kitchen fryer and made her fried chicken taste bad, apparently, when she decided to melt red wax and dip bottles of Maker's Mark in it.
So cool.
So we were talking about this earlier before we got started rolling. The drips, tendrils. Okay, on
Yeah.
the wax. They said the perfect bottle has 5, minimum of 5.
Okay.
Okay, everyone is different. You notice
Yes.
that? Like this
Yes.
one's different than that one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Any idea why they're different?
Are they doing it by hand?
They 100% are doing it. By hand.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Stop.
Kid you not.
That's amazing.
We have 3 dipping lines. We run 3 shifts. It's still done by hand.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's super fun to watch. You didn't get to see that, did you?
No, they didn't let
So-
us in because of COVID. We couldn't get into the facility. We got to tour the rick houses and stuff, and then it come out at the end. And the ones that had they when I walked up, they handed me the VIP thing. They're like, "You're here for the VIP tour," and I'm like, "Hell yeah!" That's Ryan Meegan. Thank you very much.
That's so cool.
I like to deliver.
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
got to dip the bottles and turn them in the wax, and it was really cool.
How cool.
Goggles and gloves and
Oh,
aprons
yeah,
and
you
the
gotta
whole 9
suit up.
yards.
Wow.
So the wax is like 400 degrees when you go
Yeah.
to dip it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna stick to you like grits. So no one wants that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
We all want to drink a little whiskey.
Oh, this smells
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's
so
not as
sweet. I got
not
lots
as-
of vanilla.
Not as
different.
caramely though.
No.
No, I think that's your French oak, that vanilla you start smelling, and it's
So I might have a blind spot for vanilla because a lot of people say that, but I don't get the same vanilla.
know.
oh,
I'm
that's
not getting much
overpowering
of the
vanilla to
vanilla.
me.
You think
It's
so?
it's the
Really?
first thing I smell. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
For me, I get like, and I want to say toast, but toasted wood. Instead of, it's just different. Everybody experiences.
Okay,
it.
so I want
feel
you.
like
I
I'm
want you to
getting
think.
marshmallow.
There you go. Because,
probably
hey,
are.
look down at your tasting
Oh,
wheel
yes.
right now.
I always forget
and what's
about
right
that.
below vanilla?
So my
I don't
eyes
know.
are shot. and,
Where are we? Where? Marshmallow.
Yeah, so marshmallow is a
That's-
flavor that comes from
That's what I'm getting.
caramelized American oak sugar.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to do a cooperage tour, go. Our cooperage is about 15 minutes from, or the ones we work
I
with.
want that whole bottle. What the hell?
Isn't that awesome?
46 is one of my favorite of the Makers Mark.
Oh my goodness.
Now we stepped down and improved from the last one. The last one's like almost 110.
Yes.
This one's only 94 proof.
Okay.
It's gonna be a little bit softer. But this, neat. It's
Delicious.
delicious, right? Kind of makes your mouth water.
Yes.
So-
when I smelled it, it made my mouth water.
That's good.
You know, the funny thing is, when we started this podcast
I
in
wasn't
February, she didn't even like drinking whiskey.
I didn't. I like tequila, but I like this.
I'm a fan of tequila.
I also am a fan of
I
tequila.
love tequila.
I like it.
But I am, whoa. I want a bottle of that for my birthday, please.
46?
August
Oh,
1st.
sweet. That's not very expensive.
Not
There
very
we go.
expensive. No, but so when you taste this and start picking it apart, think about, okay, as a human being, the way that we experience flavor
Yeah.
is kind of it varies, but it's kind of specific. So when you taste, the tip of your tongue, you may get sweet, right? And then you get salty, and then sour, and these are on the sides of your tongue. The very back, you get bitter, all right? And then the center of your tongue is where you start to get umami, which is something that we don't talk about a lot, but I feel like Makers 46 really has a lot more of that. People call it mid-palate, whatever. But it's something like you would get in Parmesan or
Yeah.
mushrooms or things like that. And I'm not saying that those Parmesan and mushrooms flavors exist in
Right.
46.
Yeah.
But that's that extra complexity that may not be there. Yeah.
That's different than all the rest.
Yeah. I like this one because it is so Bill designed his own perfect whiskey because his favorite cocktail is a Manhattan, right?
I like the Manhattan.
When you taste this, think about the flavors of Manhattan, right? Manhattan is a bourbon cocktail, or it could be rye. Originally it was rye, but it's a bourbon cocktail with sweet vermouth and bitters, and usually we'll have a cherry in it. Okay, so when I taste this, I get cherry. I don't know if you get cherry in there.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Almost every time I get cherry. You get those more intense vanilla. You get a longer finish for sure.
Well, this is 46 is one of my favorites. Like you said, it's a good sipper. It's good neat. It's a nice proof.
Yeah, awesome.
So anyhow, yeah, I like 46 a lot. And and again, it's going to hold a special place for me because I've got my hand dipped bottle of 46 at the house sitting on top of the liquor cabinet for everybody to see.
Awesome.
So that's very cool.
Now we're talking about proof. At one point, and maybe I think it was Makers Mark.
It was.
Yeah, they decided on classic original Makers Mark to lower the proof, correct?
Yes. Went from 90 to 84 proof.
And how long did that last?
I want to say it lasted a week.
Okay, can you guys? I know this is so stupid. What does proof mean for?
Okay, proof is the amount of alcohol.
Okay.
ABV, alcohol by volume. So if something is 40% ABV, it is 80 proof.
Okay.
So you double the
it.
ABV.
Yep.
Right.
So like a beer is only 5%.
Depending on the beer, yeah. But
Right, they're low, so
if you proofed a beer,
it'd be 10,
yeah.
something like that.
Right.
Okay. So okay.
But somebody got the wise idea to drop the proof. I don't know if they were trying to just stretch things out, make a little bit more
sure,
money.
we got to
or
meet
what.
demand. That was the idea, right? Like, hey, there's so much demand, we're not being able to keep up with it. How do we keep up with demand? Well, let's figure out what proof it makes the most sense, and so we can match the organoleptic sensations as 90 proof and they took it down to 84.
Yeah.
And they were convinced that it's going to taste the same, and we were going to be able to meet some more demand. Well, Bill Samuels Jr., the guy we were just talking about, Mr. 46.
Mr. 46, I love him.
He said he got 100,000 emails in a 24-hour period.
Telling him it's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, well, so he said, I learned then it wasn't my brand. It was my customer's brand.
Amen.
So, and I didn't work for the
Smart.
company at the time. As a matter of fact, I worked for another company, and I was like, this is hilarious. I went out and bought a bottle of the 90 proof before it went away, and I got some 80 proof, the 84, which I still have an unopened bottle at my house. But they went out, and they picked up as much as they could, and they took it back to Kentucky, and they reproofed it.
Oh.
So they took it and blended it to get it to 90.
Yeah.
And then took it back out to market, and it's been 90 cents.
There you go.
There are other very large brands out there that have deproofed, and no one has said anything.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
that says something.
It says something.
I mean, when you're sipping on tequila and stuff, do you talk about how much proof it is?
Because they're almost
Yes.
all 80.
Okay.
there are a few that are
Yeah,
that are
but
higher,
very
but most
few.
of them
Okay.
live at 80.
So, because I never hear it being like, oh, this is 110 proof tequila.
Well, there's more to the story on that.
Okay.
I think it has to do, and someone may call this out, but the amount of sugar in the agave for it to produce something that'd be 110 proof. I don't think that the sugars exist
Okay.
to get it all the way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Interesting. This is my favorite so far.
Of everything.
Of everything. I say that like every time I try a new one, and then I'm like, no, this one is it.
Yeah. Well, this is bourbon. That Uncle Nearest rye we had last episode
Was that with Michael's?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
was
God,
delicious rye.
It was good. But this, I'm a big fan of 46.
So good.
46 makes a killer Manhattan. That's Bill's favorite cocktail. So he likes to
bet.
do what he calls the Bill Jr. Manhattan, which does not have bitters in it.
Okay.
Which at some point you're just having bourbon and vermouth. But
Oh, okay.
all right, Bill.
Okay. And when I go to like a local bar, like we talk about going to Cigar Cellar, can I get different Makers Marks? Like,
Not knowing what their inventory, their back bar looks like,
Yeah.
you should be able to get it.
Yeah.
We're coming out of a production kind of issue, so we should be readily available pretty soon.
okay. How many different Makers Marks?
So our everyday
at
offerings,
most
there
bar?
are 3.
Okay.
Classic Makers Mark, which I didn't bring with.
Yes.
Okay, Makers 46,
Okay.
and then our cask strength.
Usually at bars, like
And
nicer
those are
bars.
typically available every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the 101 limited?
101 is limited. Yes. So that is there may be some a little bit hanging out in our market right now.
I don't think I've had it yet either.
Have you not?
Is it good?
Is it good? Come on.
When are we taking this trip? Like, can we go next week? What's happening?
We need to just plan it
Yeah.
because we've got a few others that we've done tastings with here too.
Yeah.
That we could
Isn't
get
your
up there.
birthday coming up or something?
Yeah, but I'll be fishing in Florida.
Dang
on that.
it.
But we could still make an excuse. Brandy's is in July. Maybe we can get it just
Yes.
do for hers.
Let's do
There
it.
you go. There's nothing like going to Kentucky in the middle
Ugh,
of July.
I know. Smart
It's
idea.
like hanging out in Atlanta in the middle of July.
Right.
Yeah. Or we figure out how to go in September and do the night races at Churchill Downs and then do a couple days of.
There you go.
Let's do it.
tastings.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. All right. What's next?
Okay, so in 2019, we released our first ever countrywide limited edition, and it was the first in a series. This is actually the culmination of the series. This is the wood finishing series. The first was RC6, and every one of them has a theme. The first one, RC6, was based on our yeast strain. So our yeast strain is actually like really bright and zippy, but it doesn't translate through in the final product.
Okay.
So Jane Bowie, who our former head of innovation, said, I really want to showcase that. So she built out a stave. She worked with Andrew Wiebrink, who's the head of R&D with Independent Stave. They worked for a couple of years to design a stave and use the same process that we do for Makers 46. So it's taking that batch of 40 of fully matured product, adding in 10 staves to that barrel. Then it lays down for, so 46 lays down for 9 weeks in our temperature controlled cellars. It's 50 degrees in that cellar. After 9 weeks, this we proof down to 94.
Okay.
So with RC6, since we were doing a custom thing, we didn't follow that whole 9-week thing. It was like 8 weeks in a day or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So she created an American oak stave which is kind of with a toasting process to finish that bourbon, and created this really bright zippy thing. Okay. That came out. She followed it with SE4PR5, which was all about spice. Oh, sorry. It was vanilla and caramel with a backbone of spice.
Oh.
It tasted like, what am I thinking of? It's not bourbon. Was it bourbon pecan ice cream?
Butter
pecan ice
Oh,
cream.
yum.
Yes. So, yeah, that one had my
Yum.
heart. It's really, really good. And then
Bourbon pecan.
butter pecan.
I'm in.
Well, bourbon pecan has my name too. But, could be. Yeah, we'll think about it. I'm going to
sounds
think that
good.
one through. And then the next year was FAE 01 and 02. So FAE for fatty acid esters.
Oh.
We're a non-chill filtered brand, and chill filtration is a process where you cool down your whiskey and filter it to take out these long chain fatty acids. The long chain fatty acids, when you add ice or if you get a product cold, especially at a lower proof, they'll cloud up. So it makes for ugly whiskey.
Oh.
We don't do that. We leave all of that long chain fatty acid in. You ever done the unfortunate thing of leaving a partial glass of whiskey out and then visited the next morning and you're like,
Yeah.
what happened to that?
Yep.
What does it look like?
It looks like it's separated.
Oh, wow.
Those fatty acids will fall out.
Wow.
So we leave it in because fat is flavor, right? It's like,
Yes.
we learned that from Paula
We
Deen,
love
right?
Yes.
Fat is flavor. How much butter
Fat's
can you
good
put
for
in?
your brain, too.
Is it?
Yeah.
God, that's another
He's
nugget
a
to
smart
remember.
son of a gun, huh?
Good fat.
I'm the
Good
smartest
fats,
guy
guys.
you've ever met. So we were showing off fatty acid esters. The first one was an American oak finished, and we did something really interesting there. So we only cooked one side of those wafer staves.
Oh.
And the other side was raw. So it was crazy. So the first FAO1 was an American oak finished, and FAO2 was French oak finished. They're, again, virgin wood, only cooked on one side. Do you remember walking in to that warehouse in the middle of the campus at Makers?
Yes.
Okay. The smell is really, there's your flavor. Yeah. There's your flavor, remember what we're talking about, right? FAEO1 tastes like that's warehouse A. Tastes like warehouse A smells. First time I picked it up, I was like, oh my God, this is warehouse A. But it's like stone fruit, peaches, and all that stuff. FAO2 came out, and it was like brownie batter. I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yum.
FAEO1 was just like super complex and stone fruit and all this craziness going on, these big bright flavors. FAO2 is just like this unctuous, chocolatey, mouth-watering thing.
You're turning this podcast into ASMR because I just keep moaning and like, I'm like,
Fantastic.
Look, and they've got this giant ass library up there of every special batch they run of different staves and everything else. They keep bottles of this stuff so they can pull it down and compare it.
Whoa,
Yeah.
That's cool.
So there was another release, which was BRT 01 and 02. The 01 was supposed to replicate the top of a warehouse, done with American oak, and the 02 was the bottom of a warehouse because we rotate our barrels. We're just trying to show off the difference.
Cool.
Right? Because if you were to have, say, a cask strength, that would be the, not necessarily those two items combined, but we rotate for consistency's sake of flavor, right? And then, so this is the culmination. So
Okay.
I know we'll build it up. This
Build
is
it up.
BEP, barrel entry proof.
Okay.
Okay, so I talked earlier about going into our barrel at 110 proof. So we use a number 3 charred American oak barrel from ISC. It is virgin wood. It has been yard aged. What that means, so it sits out, all that wood sits out for 9 months plus a Kentucky summer.
Wow.
Okay, just to open up the wood pores.
Whoa.
All right, so when we go in at a lower proof, which means we have more water in it, we get better extraction. And we're showcasing that with BEP. Okay, so BEP is 109.6, and it is a stave finish whiskey. And I believe it's done with American oak.
It's a pretty bottle.
Yeah, 10 virgin toasted American oak staves. So,
What do we smell?
I get more floral out of that one.
you may start to
Yeah.
get floral.
Yeah.
Yep.
So floral typically is going to come from the yeast, but we found with some of our wood finishing products, you actually can get some interesting flower notes from the wood.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm like confusing my brain right now.
If you go nose blind, and this is one of my favorite
What does
tricks.
that mean? What does that mean?
Like all of a sudden, like nothing's right. It's all kind of mixed up in your head.
Yes.
You can either smell coffee beans,
Okay.
or you can smell your arm. And I recommend going around
What
your
the
elbow. I'm not kidding. I'm going to do it too. You can smell your arm.
What the hell?
And it
Hey, Doug,
it
did
helps
you know you
reset.
can't lick your elbow? Try it.
I'm not doing it.
Watch him be able to.
Try it. Try it.
I'm not doing it. I know
Okay, I
it.
gotta smell my arm again. Why am I smelling the arm though? That's so weird.
So you get too many sensations sometimes, and your brain just can't
Yeah.
continue to process it.
What is it?
Hey,
What is
Melissa.
it?
I'll give you a free bottle of bourbon if you do this.
No.
If you can poke your head through that hole.
Such an
Try
idiot. No.
Well, you're gonna make me smell my elbow, or
No,
lick my elbow.
lick your elbow
Try
first.
it.
Lick
Try
your
it.
elbow
You think
first.
I can do it?
Do it. You're so stupid. I hate you.
All right.
Okay, I'm getting something, but I keep going to butters for some reason.
You said butter?
Butter.
Dude, I get the orange
Yeah.
blossom in there.
Yeah, I like Makers and orange really play well together.
Oh.
I certainly get orange. There are some savory things in there that I can't quite pick out.
I don't know why. Butter's not You say it's not like nobody's wrong with what they smell, but I don't
it's
know
what
why I
you
keep
taste.
smelling
Your
butter.
taste buds are different than ours.
Is it butterscotch?
Maybe. Because it is sweet smelling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, now I just got to taste it.
So caramel, burnt sugar kind of.
Well, there I go. I thought that 46 was my favorite, but this is, I like this one.
This is
it's
creamy.
my favorite so
Yeah,
far.
this is,
It's textural, isn't it?
It's
Isn't that wild?
creamy.
That's a lot of
What
that
the
has
hell?
to do with the non-chill filtration too, leaving in those long chain fatty acids.
Makes me like a white Russian.
hey, there's an empty glass right there.
Uh-huh.
Pour Sarah a little
Yes.
taste of
Bet.
that, because this
Yes.
is pretty amazing.
Yes. So good. That's good. That is it's creamy.
So 109.6, the Makers BEP.
I rarely drink bourbons and whiskeys, so it's exciting. Cheers.
So
Oh, that's good.
I really like that one. That's cool. That's that orange is almost like a creamsicle.
I taste the orange after I taste it. Like I didn't smell the orange, but I taste the
In the
orange.
finish, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
in
for
the
sure-
finish, for sure.
So when you're speaking about a spirit,
Yeah.
you want to talk about nose, you want to talk about flavor or palate, color, and finish. Those are kind of like the four key.
So good. This one's
Did I miss
delicious.
anything?
Yep.
I still like
Oh, texture.
Juniors. The texture. The texture is thicker
Texture.
than the other two.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. But it doesn't look thicker or pour thicker, does
And
it?
it's the same color.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
You still
Right.
like 46 the best.
That's still my
There's
favorite.
nothing wrong with
That's
that.
freaking
Nope.
delicious.
That's
this
the
is
beauty of
very
this business.
good.
It's all, what's your preference?
I feel like this would be really good with ginger ale.
That?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd use a high-end fancy ginger ale.
So you're telling me you get paid to go around and do exactly what you're doing now?
Do I look
So
like I like
fun.
my job, Doug?
Yes, you do.
Because I do.
So fun. This is so good. That like the flavor lasts forever in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yes. And typically Makers we know has a short finish.
Yeah.
But any of these wood finishing in 46, they go longer.
This like
It's the tannin. The more tannin, the longer it'll actually sit in your mouth. And
this tastes
done.
good.
Yeah.
It's like orange sickles are good.
Did you
Dream-
think we were
dream
going to have a
sickle.
bad time bringing a guy from a distillery
No
here?
way. This is super fun. I'm learning so much more from him than I'll ever learn from you.
I would hope so. He gets paid for you to learn.
I mean, in general, in life, and all of the above.
Yeah. Well,
Ooh, can we get a couple pictures besides
Yes.
the one?
Yes. Could you take some?
you just send them to me.
She didn't work her way up.
I
See?
never drink dark liquor.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, let's see here.
We're going to keep talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stand here.
Should I keep taking pictures?
No,
whatever.
it's
We
great.
As long as
could
you
do
get some good ones,
You
we're
videoing,
good.
that'd be even
Impromptu.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just kidding.
You're
So
going to have
good.
an hour or so video.
Can I try
All
some
right.
of your ginger ale? I want to try some.
Yeah.
Would it be wrong for me to put some in there?
No, here's my opinion on how to make a cocktail.
Okay.
With something that you paid for.
Yes.
If you were to buy that bottle
Yes.
and you took it home
Yeah.
and you made a cocktail with it,
Yeah.
you paid for it, right?
Right.
Then I don't care how you did it.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
But what about at the bar?
At the bar, did you pay for it?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter.
Okay.
However you want it.
They better make it right though.
Well, yeah. And the bartender might argue with you on that, but
Just a little bit.
cream soda?
Jones cream soda.
Jones cream soda would be a good call. Absolutely.
Bottle.
So, well,
Yeah.
real quick, I've been kind of trying to wrap some of these episodes up with you and I also had some things in common with, I'm a Rotarian, and you said you grew up in a family of
That's actually a
Rotarians.
new thing for my parents.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So your parents are Rotarians, but what community things do you get involved in? What's your...
I don't have anything directly that I'm currently working on. I do like to go do give backs for some odds and ends. I'm working on something this Saturday, a company or a program called Kate's Club, which is actually based here in Metro Atlanta. It is a foundation that works with children who have lost a parent. And one of my sisters lost her husband after they were only recently married. I think their son was only maybe 6 months old.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
he apparently they live in North Florida, but we it's something I feel strongly about that I really like to work with. I also I'm a fisherman. I believe strongly in the work that's being done on the Everglades. I grew up, having grown up in Florida. The Captains for Clean Water now are Everglades folks. I like to work with. If you've ever seen Mang gear,
Yep.
Every time you buy a shirt, they plant a mangrove. Those kind of things. I've worked with the river Chattahoochee River Keepers, another
Nice.
favorite of mine.
Cool.
it's a good one.
Yeah, so being local, I've yet to go do a cleanup. I promise them I will. But I do supply goods for them to go and raffle off for some of their big items.
That's
Nice.
cool.
That's been really good.
Since we're talking about that, I'll mention this Thursday I'm driving to St. Augustine, Florida, and we're doing a beach cleanup down there this weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah. Our Mother's Keeper is the nonprofit we're supporting.
Is it Ryan? I think we ought to go hunt for some pythons in the Everglades. They need to
You
get rid of
what do you call
those.
it, by the Python Cowboy?
Yeah.
He's pretty fantastic. Yeah, actually, I'd rather go chase tarpon with a fly rod, but yeah, we can do that too.
I'm headed down to go tarpon fishing in a couple weekends.
Awesome.
So. But well, look, I can't thank you enough for stopping in. This has been fun. I think this is probably a bit more educational for the listeners than the other episodes have been. You actually know what you're talking about. The rest of us just like to drink, I guess.
That's what I do, man. I gave you the certifications because I do know all this stuff and knock over my microphone. But yeah.
So we'll let Melissa hop back in here and
Yes.
say goodbye. But cheers. This has been fantastic.
amazing.
Salud.
What a great
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
This is
What a great
been
guest. What a
amazing.
great episode. Hopefully we can have you back on. We'd like to do some live, I say live, on-site.
Maybe we
podcasting.
could do a fundraiser for Healing Our Heroes and do a whiskey tasting fundraiser. Could
we
you
could,
maybe
or
do
we
that?
could do a fundraiser too for his charity,
Yes.
or together.
Or do it together.
I have a friend, my friend Cody Thorpe, who is the head of the Cross Country Wax Hounds, the founder of Cross Country Wax Hounds, was a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. And we just did a barrel with Pace's Bottle Shop over there, right there on the Smyrna line. And half of that barrel is going to go toward a rescue swimmer charity. I can't remember what it is.
Cool.
But that's really exciting.
That is cool.
That's super fun.
We
That's
would
great.
definitely, in the very near future, be doing something with a networking tasting because we haven't done one in quite a while. So
Yeah, we need to.
we'll get with you on that too.
We need to get
And-
on the calendar. Lots of things.
Yeah, we've been busy. This is
Yeah.
this podcast it's actually taken off a little quicker than I anticipated it would.
Yeah.
I think we're up to like 35 cents in advertising.
Woo woo. Making that money.
That's awesome.
But again, if anybody wanted to ask you questions, how would they get a hold of you?
If you wanted to reach out via Instagram, it's probably the best way. I'm at Bourbon on the Fly.
Pull it right now.
There's some underscores in there, but I usually pop right up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good deal.
Cool.
Well, thanks again for being on, Ryan, and hopefully we'll have you back, sooner than later. And
Yes.
this has been a lot of fun and really educational, and can't thank you enough for stopping in.
You
And
bet. Next time we're
sharing.
going to do bourbon cocktails.
Ooh.
Oh,
Maybe
hell
about
yeah.
that.
Yes.
All
right.
There you are. I'm
Thanks.
following you.
And if anybody has any questions, comments, complaints,
Keep 'em to
And,
yourself.
ideas.
and email about being in the drawing.
if you want to be, if you follow us, please send me an email and let me know, or any questions or any ideas or any potential guests. You can send me an email and let me know, whiskeyafterworkpodcast@gmail.com. And, let me know you're following us. We're going to give away a bottle of Blanton's at 100 subscribers or followers. And we're
Is
getting
it the apostrophe
getting there.
bottle?
I don't know. It's whatever one I
Just
grab
kidding.
out of the cabinet and bring with me.
No, what do you mean? You go and buy that brand new?
It's
What
hard
are
to
you talking
find. And
Okay.
but yeah, send me an email. Let me know you're listening, and we'll get
Be
you
put
in the drawing.
in the drawing.
So, All right.
Thank you
Till
so
next
much.
episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.